What a year it has been for the Japan Cup, the first of a new generation of racing for Japan Cup on its own standalone championship. And this is the culmination. Race 2 here in Okayama, the final round of 8 races. And we are greeted once again with bluer skies than we had this morning for the GT World Challenge, because indeed the track was rather soaked. It's been cleaned, it's green again, and we go racing for round 8 here in Okayama after visiting Sugo, Fuji and Suzuka. My name is Ben Constanduris, and we'll be guiding you around the full hour's race of this final round at an Okayama circuit, which is tight and twisty, 3.7 kilometers in length, and you can be guided now around the circuit by Team Goji Zen.
皆さんこんにちは、チーム5次元の金丸優です。今回はですね、岡山インターナショナルサーキットの一周をちょっと解説していきたいと思います。1コーナーなんですけど、だいたい 100m ぐらいブレーキして、ここはもう車の状況に応じてアンダーだったりオーバーだったり出やすくてすごい難しいです。でそこから高速コーナーの2コーナーなんですけど、ここ入るタイミング間違えると結構オーバーが出たりするので、結構毎週ピリピリしながら走ってます。でそこからアドウッドっていうコーナーに入っていくんですけど、ここはわりかし多分ダウンスロープが効いてるんでアンダーステアが出やすいので、あんまりブレーキ突っ込みすぎないように走ってます。そこからバックストレートですね。ここら辺でだいたいタイヤあんまり使いすぎてないかなとかいろいろ考えるんですけど、でヘアピンに入ってから、ここブレーキングポイントだいたい 100m から 90m ぐらいで、そこから細かいコーナーに入っていきます。でもう岡山は結構細かいコーナーが多いんで、車のセットアップが決まってないとここら辺ですごいロスをしてしまいます。でそこからダブルヘアピンに入っていくんですけど、ここも突っ込みすぎるとクリップにつけないことが多いんで、そこを、注意しながら走ってます。で2個目のダブルヘアピン、ここもトラクションがすごいかかりづらいので、そこも意識して、丁寧にアクセルワークをして、そこから最後の2つのコーナー、そして最終コーナーですね。でここもブレーキ行き過ぎがちなんで、僕この週行き過ぎちゃったんですけど、丁寧に走ることを心がけてます。以上です。
A lap of the Okayama circuit, 3.7 kilometers in length. And once again, we have the drummers down on the grid, entertaining the grid and the crowd that have gathered here in Okayama. We have drama though. We lost the Lexus yesterday, dropping the field down to 16 cars. Look who is in the pit lane right now. Doors up, Tadeo Uematsu, grinding to a halt on the warm-up lap in his McLaren. And for the moment, they are still trying to work out how to fix a fuel pressure problem. Now, why is that significant? He was fighting for the overall championship, but unfortunately, that was sealed yesterday by Yamawaki and Takagi. They've taken the championship in their K-Tunes Racing Ferrari, but Uematsu wanted to win the AM Championship, and he could easily win the AM Championship because he has a healthy advantage. He still could win that even if he doesn't take the start, because his main rival, the number 7 Comet Racing Ferrari, would still need to win. On board, he is still inside the car, the fan blowing cool air onto his face. I think they may have even fixed it. It was a dramatic race yesterday in sunny conditions at a similar time. Let's now have a look at the highlights. Highlights of Japan Cup Race 1 then. Championships on the line, and a very good start from our guest car, driven by Banksy. A nice clean start. Banksy followed by Motoki in the Corvette, and then Uematsu, who was slow to get going in his McLaren GT4. Suddenly, Manopo just dropped from the lead of the race. The pace a second slower per lap. The BMW came past, but it wasn't long before the other Toyota Supra came past and dropped that 39 car from first down to third position. Always tricky with traffic, especially around this tight Okayama circuit. But Banksy did a really good job of clearing everybody. Then the pit stops began. Change of tyres, change of drivers. Get out with your pro drivers for the second half of the race. A big mistake around about now. Okay, no, don't see it there. But Yamasaki getting a penalty. And that penalty costing him the AM title. A nice battle with Takagi as he came through from 5th up to 2nd position. This was the last of the moves on the Bingo Racing Corvette. A really cool pro move, this one, all the way around the outside of 5, down the inside of 6, make the move up into 2nd overall. But through it all, Fujinami had a lovely, easy second half of the race, and he took victory 10 seconds ahead of the champions for 2024 in the Ferrari K-Tunes Racing Takagi. Banksy the victor, but Takagi taking the spoils. And post that race, the result was slightly changed. That meant the AM Cup stayed alive coming to the start of this race. Not particularly competitive in that the number 7 Comet Racing Ferrari does need to win, and Uematsu did need to DNF. Well, at the moment, 55 is still in the pits. Here is the 7 down on the grid.
On the grids of the final race of the Japan Cup with Tsujiko from car number 7。Tsujiko 選手、アマチャンピオンがかかったレースとなりますが、自力では、つかめないんですが、今の状況、後ろにいるはずのお車がグリッドについてない状況です。これどう見ますか？
いや、なんともごめんなさい、今どういう状況か分かってないので、ピットスタートになるのかちょっと分からないんですけど、そうですね、できる限り前でゴールするように頑張りますけど、はい、そんな感じです今は。
ちなみに今このインタビュー前にちょっとね雑談させていただきましたけれど、その状況あまりまだ分かってなくて、実は25点取ってね、もし何かがあればまだチャンピオン望みがつないであるということで、それ山崎選手はご存知ないですかね？
です。じゃあちょっと知らせない方がいいと思うんで、はい、今このまま行きます。はい。はい。
それではね、頑張ってください。応援してます。So he didn't know about the situation with the points. He didn't know that if the 55 does not finish, that he can be crowned champion. He didn't know about that. And then I asked, does Yamasaki, who's going to start the race, know that? And he's like, no, and he better not. That's what he said. Back to you.
Don't place any extra pressure on the drivers. Very sensible indeed. It is an outside chance, but Comet Racing would need to take the victory and the 55 would need to DNF. It seems quite calm around the McLaren, so that suggests that potentially the fuel pressure issue they have has been fixed. Drivers staying in the car, so it's not as though they've looked at it and decided they can't get the car fixed, which means the 55 will start from pit lane. It only needs to complete 70% of the race to pick up points, and it only needs to pick up 1 point to secure the championship, or sorry, last position to secure the championship in the AM Cup. So, big drama for the AM Cup. We should also turn our attentions to GT4 because that is incredibly competitive coming into this final race. We have just 6 points separating the 3 top cars. But Sunrise Boulevard looking strong for this second race because the top 3 cars have success penalties. Before we do talk about GT4 a bit further, let's go back down to the grid and one of our guest cars, the 555 Maezawa Racing, is down there.
So here at the grids, starting P2, front row, 横溝選手 from 555。横溝選手、昨日もご自身のスティント脅威な追い上げでちょっとペナルティがね、もったいなかったなっていうところなんですけど、今日はここからのスタートとなります。十分表彰台真ん中狙えるかと思うんですけど、意気込みを教えてください。
もう今日は全力で行くだけですね。で、昨日は思いのほかもっとペース良かったと思ったんですけど、最後ちょっと上がりきれなくて、その辺車調整してきて、いい方向に行ってると思うんで、もうとにかく前澤選手と一緒に全力を尽くして、優勝目指して頑張ります。
頑張ってください。
ありがとうございます。
Since he was a little bit unlucky with the penalty yesterday, he says today everything looks good. The car felt good yesterday. It was just the penalty. He will try all his best with his partner, Maezawa, and also because he won the race last year here, and also the year before, he has a lot of faith in being in the middle of the podium. Back to you.
That is Yusaku Maezawa, the famous spaceman who is on the grid for today's race. And I don't think he's starting though, he'll be taking over the car for today's race. Nonaka in the 39, and his main rival is the 38, the Wakayama Toyota. And Amy has been speaking to the driver that can't win the championship, but the car can.
Once again, from the grids of the final race of the Japan Cup, the GT4 class チャンピオンが決まります。本日最終戦です。でですね、GT4 も混戦で、もうどこが勝てば優勝、そしてチャンピオンっていうことになるんですけれども、いかがでしょう、この状況。
そうですね、それを狙いつつも3位っていうところで、5秒のタイムペナルティーで済まそうっていうところが昨日の作戦ではあったんですけど、それがうまく、1位につながるかどうかですね。皆さん結構、どのチームも1位を取らなければチャンピオンになれないんで、かなりちょっと混戦というかきつくなるんじゃないかなとは想像してるんですけど、タイヤの条件は多分うちが一番いいはずなので、それと5秒というところを考えれば、かなり有利のはずなんですけど、ちょっとお腹が痛いですね。そんな感じです。
ご自身のスティントまでね、お腹の調子を整えていただいて、精一杯頑張ってください。応援してます。
ありがとうございます。
頑張るぞ。So yes, the fact that nobody knows, because whoever wins this race is going to be crowned champion. They knew that already yesterday, so their strategy yesterday was to be P3 in order to only get the 5-second penalty. So that was checked already, and today they say the tire situation is probably the best out of the other two championship contenders. So he's looking very much forward to becoming champion, I guess. But he says his stomach is hurting a little bit, so yeah, but he will try his best.
Yeah, so just to clarify, that was Toshi Ochai. He himself, as a driver, missed the round in Fuji, and therefore he, as a driver, cannot win the Drivers' Championship. But his partner, Tsuruhiro, can win the championship, as can the team. So we had the same situation in the 39, where Monopo is able to win the championship. Teammate Nonaka, who starts the car, missed a round, so he as a driver cannot, but the team can. The YZ Racing BMW that won yesterday, they can, as a team and driver combination, win the driver's title in GT4. But, as was highlighted there, those top three cars yesterday finished with the BMW in first, Monopo second, Tsuruhiro in third, and therefore, the 38 car only has 5 seconds extra in the pits, the 39 has 10 seconds extra in the pits, and the BMW has 15 seconds in the pits. And because it's so close in GT4, that makes a huge difference. What about if the 82 Sunrise Boulevard, with no penalties, end up jumping ahead of them? Well, it gets a bit more complicated if the BMW takes victory, and the BMW has not taken victory in GT4 across the season, and so it is an unlikely. Sorry, I knew that they did win one race. They won the second race in Fuji, so it is possible. And if they do that, then it gets a bit more complicated. It is not just winner takes all. So we're going to spend a lot of time watching the GT4 battle, because it really is a big thing. The cars leave the grid now. Don't expect to see the McLaren appear on the left-hand side because he can only start once the first lap, the formation lap, is over. The grid then for the race is the 98 is on the pole. Shinji Takagi, fastest man out there alongside the 555 of Yokomizu. Fujinami in third spot alongside Takei. Then we get into the AM drivers, Takei, Yamakashi and Oyagi, with Uematsu not starting in 7th position and Tanaka for Run-Up Sports in 8th. Then the two GTC cars. Sawa will start the Absa car and Okura will start the Gamma 83 car. Nonaka on the pole position in the 39, Sudahiro in the 38 alongside Fujiwara in the Porsche ahead of Masaki Kano. So interesting to see what they can do, Sunrise Boulevard, in upsetting the championship fight. And then you have the final couple of GT4 cars. To note that the Aston Martin there of DZ Racing, they can win the GT4 AM Championship, but they do need to get to 70% of the race. To do so, they actually need to score points, because at the moment they are behind a car which is not here. The 55's door are shut. The Lollipop Man is there. So as long as he can get that car fired up, they look like they are good to go. Effectively a little bit strange, but the race basically starts now. But because we have two safety car laps, the second safety car lap gets absorbed into the race. It's how it's been for most of the season. And therefore, that's why the McLaren can join the tail of the field at this point, because effectively he will join the start of the race without losing a lap. He does, or will have, all of the GT4 cars ahead of him to get past, and that will be a little bit of a mission for him for the first couple of laps. Those GT4 cars need to be reminded that there will be a McLaren coming through, because they won't be expecting it on the first couple of laps to be looking in their mirrors for traffic. So they need to be told that Uematsu, who will be a lot faster in the corners and along the straights, will be looking to carve his way through. Now, let's be realistic. As long as he finishes 70%, he will win the championship. How far up the field does he really ambitiously want to get to fight with the other GT3 AM cars? And Comet Racing, that number 7 white Ferrari just saw in shot, they need to move themselves up ahead of the number 9 Corvette, the Bingo Racing Corvette, to have any chance of winning anyway. So they've got to make up one position. It's Yamasaki who will start the car for Comet Racing in the number 7, Takai in the Corvette. Yamasaki and then Oyagi in the 81 Nissan. Takagi was the fastest driver of any GT3 driver in qualifying yesterday morning. That is how competitive this Japan Cup is. Faster than all of the pro drivers in GT World Challenge. Fujinami, also a pro works driver. Yokomizu working really hard at Maezawa Racing. So 3 very, very accomplished pro drivers at the head of this Japan Cup field. A gap, of course, as well between GT3 and GT4, which compounds the pain for the McLaren. Nice formation. Off we go racing for the final time in 2024. And it is going to be K-Tunes that take the lead, but the 666 is going down the inside of the Maezawa Racing Ferrari to claim 2nd position, and even looking to try and go around the outside for the lead here. Fujinami looking very, very feisty, and it gets pushed wide, which will allow Yokomizu to come down the inside and take 2nd position, has to dip a wheel onto the gravel. This is inviting a very feisty number 7 Yamasaki down the inside of Yokomizu. Yamasaki, really strong first couple of corners from the Comet Racing Ferrari. And all of that aggressiveness from Fujinami has now forced him into the clutches of Yokomizu, of Yamasaki, and even Oyagi in the Nissan, that big orange machine, crawling all over the back of that little battle pack. Takagi leads in the K-Tunes Ferrari. Then a gap. Fujinami, Yokomizu, Yamasaki, Oyagi. And actually the big loser there has been the Corvette. Takai dropping to the tail of the GT3 field. Big old chunk of curb taken from Yokomizu through the final couple of corners. I can tell you, no progress made, and actually watch out at pit lane entrance, because there's been no progress from the McLaren on lap 1. He has not been able to clear a single GT4 car. That's a big surprise. He doesn't come into the pits. See at the back a shot there. Meanwhile, the two Toyotas squabble over GT4 at the head of the field. 39 versus 38. They need to scamper away because the BMW there in 4th position, not making up any progress. There is Uematsu. I couldn't tell whether that was a very sick-sounding McLaren or just a mix of two engine notes. I don't think that McLaren is happy. It's got to get to 70% of this race to score points. Yamasaki is doing exactly what he needs to do right now, leading the AM class. He's got a guy in the Nissan right up his tail though. And for second position, Yokomizu trying to find a way past Fujinami. There is Yamasaki, there is Okai. Then a gap, Takai, Tanaka. Lots of stories in the first 2 laps of this final Japan Cup race. I don't know whether that McLaren is fixed, because a 1:30.8 for Takagi as he completes his second lap. The best pace of the GT4 cars is about 9 seconds slower than that. You'd expect that McLaren to scamper past them, and he hasn't at all. There, a massive problem with the McLaren. Comes past the window of the commentary position, almost sounded like he's off throttle. Side by side for the lead in GT4. Trying to go around the outside here is Tsuruhiro on Nonaka. Tsuruhiro wanting to win this championship. Nonaka can't win this championship for himself, but he can for the team, and it is side by side for the lead. Winner takes all, remember, in GT4, as long as one of the top 3 in the championship is ahead of the Boulevard Racing. Switches to the inside to defend. Can Tsuruhiro go all the way around the outside? No, there isn't the grip in GT4 to be able to do that. We saw it in GT3 being done through Revolver, but it's not possible in GT4. And Fujiwara in the Porsche fancies a bit of this. At the moment, away from Kanu. This is not working out for YZ Racing, because Kanu 4th in the GT4 field, but more than that, also with that 15-second penalty. So he actually needs to establish a 15-second advantage over the Porsche. At the moment, he's behind it. Battle for 4th. Ogai all over the tail of the Ferrari. Amazing, isn't it? Those two very different shaped GT3 cars able to perform equally to each other. Ferrari, Nissan and Corvette are watching brief behind. Comet Racing on the defensive, down the back straight. Needs to win the AM Cup. Needs to hold on. And we do know that Team Daishan GT Net car, not as fast in the hands of the second driver. But that's sort of the case with a lot of the field, I suppose. It was a good qualifying from Takai in the Corvette, but not a good first couple of laps. And now it's almost as though he finds himself stuffed up behind those two for the lead in AM. At the head of the field, though, Takagi leads. 1.8 seconds the advantage over Fujinami and then Yokomizu. Whoa, there was dust. Was that car just running off the circuit? Thought there might have been a car off there, but it was just dust at the front of the lens. Fujinami, though, has had to get out the throttle from whatever he did. I think it was Fujinami who made the slight error, and Yokomizu now right on his tail. Momentum lost by the Porsche, and the 488 Ferrari looking to the inside. Yokomizu, winner the last 2 years here in Okayama in GT World Challenge. Meanwhile, for fourth, Ferrari has the inside. That's a defensive line, but can the Nissan go all the way around the outside? We have seen this done before. No, Comet Racing shuts the door. There's no space there, surely through Pepper. He tries it though. And again, side by side. Yamasaki was definitely put off by our guy there. The door is open and through goes the Nissan. No! Corvette goes into the side of the Ferrari. That's not what Comet Racing needs. You could see it developing, couldn't you? On the onboard. Yamasaki was compromised. Offline. Oh, he's decided to go through the gravel to get the car turned around. That's not ideal. Oh, can he keep it pointing in the right direction? The grass will be wet from this morning. He does indeed, but that has really compromised the number 7's race now. Takai's going to get a penalty for that, no doubt. It's pretty clear on board what happened. I love the fact that the 38 flashing his lights at the GT4 car saying, come on, get a move on. I'm not slowing down for you. I got a race to do. Tsuhiro has a nice advantage though, doesn't he, over Nanaka for the moment. And the BMW in the back of shot, losing yet another position potentially from Sakaguchi in the K-Tunes Toyota. Let's have a look at the replay. Takai brakes where we would usually brake. And I don't know, actually, he was so far behind. The Ferrari potentially shouldn't have turned in, but also wouldn't really have known he was there. Big blind spot, as you can see actually by that camera shot. So nobody wants to win the AM Cup then. Uematsu with a lame McLaren, and Yamasaki now at the tail of the AM field. As I say, will race control penalise Takai? The two Nissans possibly don't have the pace to stay ahead of the number 7. And if Takai then gets a penalty, it could still go the way of the Ferrari Comet Racing. If, I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's a difficult one from that onboard to really judge, because the Corvette was kind of committed, wasn't it? And the Ferrari well offline, giving space to the passing Nissan on the inside. There is Uematsu. Let's have a listen. So he's got a warning on the dashboard, you can see that. He's also staying in 5th gear. Oh wow, look at that. God, the engine's cutting out at higher revs and you can hear the driver yelping. so that the fuel pressure is only a problem at high revs. And the engine's actually cutting out, completely losing any fuel, but then on acceleration, it's okay again. Listen. Gone, no engine. Changing down the gears, and then he drops the clutch again, and the engine fires back up again. This is remarkable. Not the way you should really drive a race car, but whilst he can still get those points, he is going to soldier on. Engine's fine here. And it's all good there. It's keeping it under low revs, but you can see the warning comes up just above the big 3 there. There's the low pressure warning. He keeps it low in the revs, so he's got the drive, so he's got the engine, and all the way through here it's fine. And then listen, halfway along the straight, he'll put it into 6th gear. Gone. No engine, limp mode. Oh, that's amazing. Great stuff from to have a look at that. I've never seen a race car do that. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to get to 70% race distance, so he scores points. Then he'll park it for sure. But that is quite an experience for him to have a car cutting out halfway down the straight. The joys of the onboard, getting right inside the car and finding out exactly what's going on. Right then, battle for 2nd position, Fujinami and Yokomizu. Locked together. Fujinami doing a 30.4 in his last lap. Yokomizu matching it. Takagi 30.1. That's what a real race car should sound like. Engine red lights going all the way to the top. Change gear. And it also shouldn't cut out halfway down the straight. So effectively what they did in the pits, it wasn't that they fixed the problem, it was that they had identified the problem and found a way to get around this circuit to score enough points. As it stands, champion in GT4, this number 38. Whoa, not if he does that, it's not. Suehiro going grass tracking. Not sure the Supra was designed as a rally car. That'll have dirtied those right-hand tyres as well. It's okay through this right-hander, but you saw a lot of movement through the left. Thankfully, no more left-hand turns for a while. Should clear up. There are the points. 38 plays 40, 53 plays 43. And actually, the BMW would still be on 43 at the moment. No further action. Wow, no further action between Yamasaki and Takai. So race control deciding no penalty for the Corvette going into the side of the Comet Racing Ferrari. That means they need to find about 30 seconds still to win this title. They've got to get back onto tail of the Corvette. There is the BMW, 4th you see at the moment, behind the Porsche. There is the Corvette. 6 seconds back now from Oyagi and 8 seconds ahead of Tanaka in the 360 run-up Nissan. Actually, not even much damage on the front of that car, is there? Despite the fact that He tapped the Ferrari into a spin. The livery still looks as stunning as it always does. Difficult one to call, that incident, but obviously not hard contact. And indeed, the Ferrari offline and trying to come back onto the line. The Corvette there and with his nose up the inside. So anyway, race control, no further action, no penalty. Work to do for Comet Racing once more. 55 seconds back from the lead of the race. They are about 35 seconds off the back of the lead in the class, and they need to win that. So we've got two things going on in Am Cup. The leader of the championship needs to get to 70% to score enough points, but even if it stays as it is and Iematsu retired now, the Yamasaki Comet Racing Ferrari wouldn't get enough points anyway to beat the McLaren. So the McLaren will still win the championship if it retired right now. There's no guarantee that Yamasaki won't get himself, or Comet Racing won't get themselves back to the head of that Am field. Back on board with Yokomizu. The Ferrari wails its way down the back straight here in Okayama. The scene of the 1994 and 1995 Pacific Grand Prix, only a couple of years after the circuit was finished and opened. Used to be known as TI Aida being the most local village to this town. I say a village because it really is a village. We don't really have a town for about 30 kilometers. Sold by the original builder or the original investors about 15 years ago. Now the wick's been turned up by YZ Racing BMW round the outside of the Porsche. Had the inside line for turn 2. Is this gonna work out? It's not the greatest place to be overtaking, but it does work out for them. And just as they're doing that, here comes the number 6 who has to get on the brakes mid-corner down the main straight. The 666 is gonna be compromised by that. The BMW still on the inside line. He's gonna have to go around the outside here. Don't forget that these GT4 cars are absolutely on the limit of adhesion as well. And wow, properly balking Maezawa Racing. That just really happened at the wrong time, didn't it, for those two GT3 cars? Kano just kind of probably not expecting the GT3 cars to come through at that point, and suddenly, having made a pass on the Porsche up to 3rd position, found himself really compromising both the 666 and the 555 there. Probably in equal measure, actually, so hasn't massively compromised the two of them. They scamper off up the road to pass the last two of the GT4 cars. And once again, BMW under huge pressure here from the 3rd of the Toyota Supras and the Porsche Cayenne. But at least he's now up into 3rd position. It's not looking rosy though for YZ Racing with that 15-second success penalty in the pits. If you win the race, the previous race, you get a 15-second effectively stop-hold penalty in the pits. If you come 2nd, you get 10 seconds, and if you come 3rd, you get 5. That's why the target for Wakayama Racing for race 1 was not to win. They didn't want that 10-second penalty. They wanted to be in a situation today where they could fight, and therefore they targeted 3rd. They finished 3rd, behind Toyota Gazoo Racing, behind YZ Racing. And therefore, of those 3 championship challenges, they have the least penalty. But we should consider that the Porsche KM is how far behind at the moment. Fujiwara is only about 8 seconds behind Tsuruhiro. So actually, that would mean that the 38 Toyota would still come out ahead of the Porsche. But the other 2, the BMW and the 39 Toyota Gazoo Racing, would come out from the pit stops behind the Porsche. So effectively, the Porsche would move up from 4th to 2nd because it doesn't have any success penalty. And then you should consider also the K-Tunes Racing Toyota Supra, which will also slot in ahead of the BMW and ahead of the 39. So this really is great work from the 38 squad to create that gap. That's speculation, by the way. That's me trying to do maths whilst talking, which I can't do maths when I'm not talking. So it may well be completely different to what I've said. But either way, in about 20 seconds' time, we're going to open the pits. We probably won't see pit stop straight away, because we do have the faster drivers in most of these cars. But Banksy begins to get ready to take over from Fujinami in the 666, the winners yesterday. Invitation entry, wonderful looking car, run by 77 and KFM, which is the team of Kyoto Fujinami Motorsport. And there is the Mazaya Ferrari. And it will soon be Mr. Maezawa himself to take over from Yokomizu. So we'll have Maezawa versus Banksy. And then Yamawaki will be in the K-Tunes Ferrari. We didn't see too much of Yamawaki in race 1. He kept it quite quiet. And there's not a huge advantage that is being given here, just about 3 seconds in that 98 Ferrari. Takagi hasn't scampered off in the distance like we've seen in other races. And a slightly resigned looking Kano jumping out of the YZ Racing BMW. This is going to be a long old pit stop for them. The full 90 seconds and then their 15 extra seconds success. So they're going to drop way behind the GT4 battle. And that is asking a lot. What they need, what would change things for them, of course, it would be a safety car. But they have managed here in Okayama, when we've had cars off the side of the racetrack, we've pretty much managed to avoid needing a safety car because we've done full course yellows. And because the efficiency of the marshals snatching the cars out of the gravel, we've never needed to go to full safety car. It's the only real way YZ Racing have got a chance in that championship fight. Porsche versus the K-Tunes Racing Super GT4. K-Tunes with a Ferrari, with the Toyota Supra and with the Lexus, which, if you weren't watching yesterday's race, unfortunately exploded. The engine went pop in Friday's practice session. They weren't able to replace it, and therefore the Lexus not taking part in the races or in qualifying this weekend, and that is why K-Tunes had a straight, easy win for the title. But in terms of the races, with the 2 invitational 555 and 666, it has created much closer competition for the ultimate win of the race. Out of the pits comes Suzuki in the Comets Racing Ferrari. He comes out the pits just behind Uematsu, who is still circulating in that McLaren. unbelievably being able to deal with that issue with the car cutting out. Uematsu's target just to finish the race, well, get to 70% of the race where he'll pick up enough points just to protect the lead in the AM Cup. What a funny way to win, eh? You could say that he doesn't need to do that either, because the rest of the AMs will be so far up the road that Suzuki is not going to be able to get close to them after being turned around by the Corvette. This is, at the moment, the battle for third position in GT4. Fujiwara and Sakaguchi. Nonaka and Suehiro up the road. Gap 5 seconds between Fujiwara and Nonaka, and then 3.4 to Suehiro. Back on board with the McLaren. Wow, that engine really was cut out all the way through the turn, wasn't it? There's one thing, the engine cutting out and then cutting back again to give you the balance through the turn, but if you're effectively on the clutch going through a turn, that would be quite unsettling. So that's a developing situation for Uematsu to deal with. As Run-Up Sports now service their 360 Nissan. Such a grandfather of the GT3 class, the Nissan GTR. Only superseded in epic engine noise by the Corvette. And in that livery as well, in Bingo Racing's livery, I think that one is even better than last year's. Last year's was a bit manic. That is just epic. Still locked together for third position. Fujiwara and Sakaguchi, they kind of don't need to be fighting each other too hard, because that will slow them down. And knowing that Nonaka may well come out of the pits pretty close to the two of them, thanks to its success ballast in the 39 car, I'd be keeping our head down. Of course, they still have to hand over to their second drivers. Yoshi Nagai will take over the 97, and Yoshi Makino will take over the Sunrise Boulevard Porsche. Now McLaren is in the pits. The 55 being serviced. Driver needs to get out. Remember, Uematsu doesn't have a teammate, so he does need to get out the car and get back in. And there he is, out the car and back into the car. And that counts as his driver change, effectively. Doesn't share the car with anyone else. Now, sometimes you see single driver entries being penalised, given a 5-second penalty, for instance, because of the familiarity of the car and team when they first go out the pits in comparison to an AM driver, for instance. It does take a little bit of time to get up to speed, but race control deciding this weekend that wasn't not necessary for Uematsu. So he will basically be allowed to do a 90-second pit stop, as will these guys. Boulevard, Sunrise Boulevard, no penalty needed for them. The leader of GT4 is also into the pits, so Suehiro handing over to his teammate Ochai. Ochai, we spoke to on the grid, cannot win the driver's title, but he can win it for Suehiro. And at the moment, they are in a really good position to do so, because even with their penalty, they should still come out in the lead of GT4, such as the advantage that has been created in that opening stint by Suehiro. Pit stop window is going to shut pretty quickly. We've got about 1 minute and 50 seconds remaining. So the Nissan leaving it very, very late to make their pit stop. Oyagi going past the pit lane. Takai does not. Takai comes into the pits. Still about half the field to make their pit stops. All the way down to Sakaguchi has yet to pit. So Corvette into the pits, as is the Toyota Gazoo Racing 39 car. Nanaka will be handing over to Manopo. It's Manopo who is the man that can win the title in that car. Nanaka missing the Fuji round, so cannot take the driver's title. But will be lots of work to do for Manopo because they have 10 extra seconds in the pits. Into the pits comes our race leader, caught up behind one of the GTC cars, so might not be able to attack quite as hard as he would want. Fujinami, oh no, Fujinami has gone round. He's missed the pits. We've only got 25 seconds remaining before the pit window shuts. They're not going to get the 666 into the pits here, and that will be a penalty, pitting outside of the window. Takagi in, Yokomizo in, Ogai in, Takai in, Okura in, waiting for Sakaguchi also to come in. Oh, Sakaguchi, he might not make it in either. What's the time? Yeah, Sakaguchi's missed it as well. So the 97 Toyota from K-Tunes is now coming around the final turn, but the window is already shut. There's the 7, that goes past. They made their pit stop pretty early. But on the inside, there, coming into the pits, window is closed. How have this happened? How has 2 of our 16 cars missed the pit window? Here comes 666. They've done the same mistake. Whoa! And also, that'll be a penalty too for breaking the line on pit in. Sure of it. Well, that's a disaster. Thought that would be a good result for K-Tunes in the GT4 category. They were locked together fighting the Porsche. In the background comes the GT4 Porsche. But that is, it's basically the kind of mistake you make when it's your first race in the championship, isn't it? So in gets Banksy. He did a really good job in the first race, and you would have to say, considering they won the race yesterday, they would be sort of favourites, even in the position that they were, to win this second race. But it's not going to happen now. Nothing, by the way, confirmed by race control. It's only myself looking at what's happened and sort of suggesting that there's probably going to be an issue. Maezawa in the 55. Oh, Maezawa in the 55 is ahead of Yamawaki. So we've had a change of position. Out goes the 666. The 666 is going to come out in the lead of the race here. So he's under investigation for pit entry. Oh, hang on. Hang on. 666 has got a problem. Not quite sure what was going on there. Seemed to be an issue with pulling away. So comes out the pits ahead of Maezawa. And Maezawa well ahead of Yamawaki there. There's Yamawaki in third position. So the first couple of laps, no, it wasn't the first couple of laps. It was the success penalty, wasn't it? Let's flip those positions. And that's what Banksy was doing coming out of the pits. He was slowing down because he didn't want to come out the pits before the elapsed time. The 90 seconds plus the 15 from winning the race yesterday. but I have a feeling it's all going to be for nothing anyway. There is Takagi, who now needs to will on his teammate. The McLaren is still circulating. It's not even last. It's actually now got ahead of the GT4 cars. Quite sure how long that's going to last. Of course, all the GT4 cars had those penalties, didn't they? So Uematsu soldiers on. Actually, it doesn't look as bad. There's no warning light flashing. He's still driving it in the same way, still keeping the revs low. But we did see a warning light coming on in certain parts of that circuit when we rode on board with him before, and it looked better. Right, so let's take stock. Banksy leads, but is under investigation for pit entry from teammate. There also will be under investigation for their pitting outside of the window, so potentially 2 penalties coming their way. That leaves Maezawa in the lead of the race by 3.2 seconds over Yamawaki. Then it's the Nissan at the top of shot there, and the BMW about to get past the Porsche. That is for 4th in GT4, so still not really that great for YZ Racing. And actually, the oh, you can hear the understeer from the BMW there. The tyres absolutely squealing their way through turn 2. And the Porsche very concerned about letting the Nissan behind go through. That Nissan, by the way, is the leader in GTM right now and 4th overall. 666 is under investigation for 4 separate issues. So let's try and work what those are. Pit lane speed. Pit lane speed. Okay. Short pit stop, as in not the full length. So that should have been 90 seconds plus the 15. And it may be that they went too short. Slow pit exit, so they're investigating him slowing down on pit exit. So this is the pit entry. This is the 4th one. So he's come in too hot, he's understeered wide, and he's cut the white line. So you're not allowed to do that. So that's penalty number 1. Then penalty number 2 is being released before, or getting to pit out before the 90 plus 15. Potentially, he also sped in the pit lane at some point, and then he was too slow at the exit, which you're not allowed to do either. You're not allowed to basically stop at the end of pit lane to let the countdown count down. So Banksy there doing what he thought was the right thing to do, but in all honesty, that's kind of just a driver getting used to regulations basically on a couple of instances, and the team also trying to get used to it. And of course, what that doesn't list, pit lane speed, short pit stop, slow pit exit, cutting the white line on entry, doesn't list the fact that they were also outside the window. So leading by 3.2 seconds right now. Once race control have worked out what they're going to do, hopefully it won't take 18 minutes, then we'll have a conclusion. But it does mean, at the moment, Maezawa, on his rookie weekend racing in Japan Cup, could well be your winner. However, that guy there, Yamawaki, champion, is going to try and stop that, and he's starting to put a little bit of pressure on Maezawa. Just 1.3 seconds the gap between those 2 cars. Then it's Oyagi in 4th, Motoki in the Corvette 5th, 2nd in class, and then Suzuki in the Comet Racing Ferrari up to 3rd in class, so past the 360 Nissan, but still with a big chunk of time to get to the head of that field. And even if he does, Uematsu is still going. Oh, he's got round him. Where was Maezawa in that shot? I didn't even realize he was making a pass. Yamawaki gets past Maezawa and up to what we think is going to be the lead of the race once the 666ers had all of its penalties sorted. Maezawa can stare at the tail of the 296 and work out where he can go faster as well. Good bit of lesson learning when you're following another car. In GT4, by the way, Ochai has a 10-second advantage in the 38 Wakayama Toyota over the Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia 39 car. So really now a two-horse race for the title. K-Tunes Racing, number 97 there, has just lost a position to the BMW. So BMW ahead of Toyota, but it's now a winner-takes-all situation, and the winner is, at the moment, the 38. There is, between the BMW and the 39 Toyota, a 16-second gap as well, so a lot of work to do. Pit stop window investigation for car 97 as well as the 666. Those are pretty slam dunks for us. We've seen that already. There is YZ Racing up to third in class now, so they've deposed of Nagai on that last lap. What's their pace like though? I mean, they need to be seriously pedaling to get up to Ochai. Right then, penalty number 1. 5-second penalty for crossing the entry line for car 666. Okay, so that moves them down to second at the moment. But that is only one penalty. There's a few more to work out. And this is a Gentleman Drivers' Championship, of course, so you don't want to be too harsh with your penalties. You still want these guys to enjoy their weekend. And it is a case of just possibly not knowing these regulations, being an opening weekend for them. This is a change of the lead for GTM, though. Corvette down the inside of Nissan. Motoku takes the Corvette up to the head of the GTM field. They're 44 seconds back from the top 3, so that's about as far as that Corvette's going to go. But he needs to do that because he's being closed in by the Comet Racing Ferrari. Oh, now, right, another penalty for Banksy. And that is a bit harsh. A short pit stop, 15-second stop-go penalty. So got to come into the pits, got to stop, wait for 15 seconds, basically do another pit stop, and then go out again. That's a lot harsher. And that's only 2 of the 5 penalties. So he's going to have that penalty, and then a 5-second penalty added to the end of the race time. Although they can actually take that 5-second penalty in the pit stop. So they could come into the pits and stop for 20 seconds, and that will absorb both of those penalties. We're still waiting on 2 more, though. It's like bingo. I feel sorry for them because they certainly were the class of the field yesterday, taking the victory. New team, beautiful looking car, positive attitude from both Banksy and teammate Fujinami. And a lot of it, okay, Fujinami, certainly a mistake from him on entering the pits. But the short pit stop, that's a team thing. Coming into the pits 1 lap late, we haven't heard the penalty for that. That's also a team thing. And then Banksy slowing at the end of pit lane to absorb time. That is, that's a natural thing to do if you've been released early. And that would have been the team going, oh, whoa, whoa, slow down, slow down, slow down. Not necessarily knowing in the regulations that that's kind of not allowed. Either way, what it means is Banksy and the 666 are kind of well out of it now. And it moves Yamawaki and Maezawa up to first and second. That 97 car, I'm afraid, is also due a penalty at some point when race control get round to it. Kind of working through all their paperwork right now. So even if this looks a bit exciting and a bit juicy, Meccano looks to the inside to try and take 4th position in GT4. It is, I'm afraid, going to count for nothing. There's the leader in GT4. And look up the road, look at the back of shot, no sign of any other GT4s. Right then, let's go back down to Amy in the pits, who's got the 38 driver.
And the countdown clock is ticking. It's 10 minutes until this guy probably will be crowned champion. スヒロ選手、落合選手はね、チャンピオンドライバーは、かからないんですけど、チームそしてスヒロ選手のチャンピオン絡んでます。
はい。もう今は落合様神様状態でもうこうやって今願ってる状態です。はい。
でもなんかもし何かあったらここで何かが行われるっていうのを先ほど聞いたんですけど、
そうですね、とりあえず今僕のスティントで予定通りちゃんとギャップも開けてバトンタッチして今大きなギャップ持ってるので、これでまかり間違えて落合選手なんか失敗してチャンピオン取りこぼしたりしたらもうここのピットに正座で断髪式しますんで、はい、坊主で、はい、世界配信してください。世界配信。
素晴らしい黄金ヘアが、
はい、もうそれをもう世界に配信してあげてください。はい、
それはね免れたいのでね、この先も、見守って、ぜひチャンピオンにね、向かって突っ走っていただければと。
はい、そうです。ここまではもう本当昨日からずっとシナリオ通りに来てるので、もうよっぽど何かない限りは大丈夫だろうと信じてます。はい。
So yeah, he's just praying that Ochai will do his best. If he doesn't, they apparently cut his hair. So we don't want to see that. It was according to plan in his stint. So he's really, really praying that Ochai is gonna do his job. Back to you.
Most of the time, cutting someone's hair is it's kind of a celebration in motorsport rather than a punishment. But it does look good at the moment for Ochai. Oh, he's got that great hair as well. Oh, definitely don't want to cut that. So, Banksy's served 2 of his penalties, and he is still in 3rd position. So he's served 1 drive-through penalty, but he's just been issued another one. Yeah, you can't do 2, can you, at the same time? So he's... I'm not even sure whether he did a 20-second stop-go there. Either way, he's in 3rd position. He's come back out in 3rd position somehow, but he's got to go and do another one. This is not much fun for Banksy. And there is still 1 penalty to be decided, which is pitting outside the window, which he and the 97. 97 now has been given that penalty. Stop-go for doing that. So good old race control, getting these all through before the end of the race. 6 different investigations necessary. And, oh dear, poor Banksy. Back into the pits to serve another one. And when you are a gentleman driver, you suddenly go, oh, this isn't much fun, but it's all his own doing, I'm afraid. It's all the team's doing anyway. What can Banksy do when he comes back out on the circuit? He's going to have about 5 minutes where he can push and attack and have a lot of fun, get through some traffic. I think, by the way, having just listened to the McLaren come past our window, that the McLaren is sorting itself out slowly but surely. Last lap from Uematsu, a 1:34.6. That's about the same as Maezawa. So somehow that McLaren has fixed itself out on circuit. We'll confirm in a moment as Banksy comes back out onto circuit, this time at the tail of the GT3 field. I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's got to come in again. He's just been given another drive-through penalty. So, oh my, he's gonna. I don't think I've ever commentated on a race where a team have been given 3 drive-through penalties on 3 successive laps. I feel sorry for them, actually. I really do. But he's going to have at least 2 more laps to fight through the field, and he's still in 6th position. Such has been the pace of those first 3 Pro-Am cars. That's Nishikawa, who is going to benefit from Banksy's 3rd drive-through penalty. Nishikawa also just been lapped by Motoki in the leading GT-Am car. He's also going to be on the overall podium, thankfully. We are also now past that 70% marker, so Uematsu not coming into the pits Banksy not coming into the pits this time, choosing to stay out, so he's going to do the drive-through maybe next lap. But yeah, we're past the 70% mark now, and so we can safely say we've got 2 more champions crowned. Hoshino, who we haven't seen at all in this race, in the D-Station Aston Martin GT4 car, he will pick up maximum points for the GT4 AM category, and therefore will become GT4 AM champion. The D-Station Aston that he shares with Kenji Hammer. And also McLaren. Oh, we've got a car off. Who was that? That was I think that was a GTC car. And we might get a safety car here. It was Kono pulled over. Oh my gosh. And the other GTC car has slowed down. Both GTC cars have expired at the same moment. That is remarkable. One was parked up on the inside of what they're calling turn 6, what I've been calling turn 4 all weekend. And the other one, I wonder if they were fighting and there's been a clash. The other one's limping back to the pits. There is the Porsche that set the grass alight by the looks of things. And there is a bit of damage, there's a bit of bodywork on the middle of the corner there. So I think we might have had a clash of GTC cars. One going slowly and the other one parked up. Maezawa round the final couple of turns in 2nd position, 15 seconds back from Yamawaki, but doing a wicked job. He's going to get himself an overall podium in only his 2nd race in Japan Cup. There is the leader, there's Yamawaki. And the grass still smouldering on the inside of that turn. It will be where either a bit of oil is dropping on the grass or brake pads. Now, the other story is that the McLaren here is now champion in GT3 AM. We're past the 70% mark, and so he will score points, and whatever, therefore, the number 7 does, Uematsu, on his own, will win the title. And how about the way he does it? Look, you know how engine was cutting out at the start of the race? Look, it's fine now. It's literally fixed itself. He's still driving it carefully. He's still keeping the revs low. He's still conscious that there's an issue with the car, but it's remarkable. What a race. What a race of madness. Quite sure how we're going to summarize it in our highlights. Here's the battle for 4th position. Tsujiko in the number 7 Comet Racing Ferrari, back onto the tail of the 81 Nissan. So this for 2nd in GT3. The leader 24 seconds, 25 seconds up the road, so no chance for the 7 to get onto that lead. And what could have been. Oh, now 97 has been black flagged. Now that's because he hasn't done all of his drive-through. Well, he hasn't done his drive-through penalty. I wonder whether number 666 is going to have a similar fate. He's probably fed up of doing a drive-through penalty. Maezawa getting out the way from Banksy. But Maezawa in a very safe position. 33 seconds ahead of Motoki, 17 seconds back from Yamawaki, no problem at all. Chujiko here, struggling to get past Oyagi. Looks to the inside, not really a place to overtake, but it does put the Nissan offline, and that should give the Ferrari an opportunity. Get into the slipstream, get under that massive rear wing of the GTR. Better drive for the GTR down the main straight. And again, looks to the inside. Is there a gap there? Not a lot of gap. It's pretty tight between the two of them. Now he's going to try and sweep around the outside of turn 3. Maybe side by side. He should have the inside line for turn 4, but there was yellow flags down there because of the GTC car that was off. And the car is still there, so I imagine the yellow flags are still there. So no overtaking through that turn. Can, however, overtake into the next one. Has momentum. Is trying to line him up. Not quite brave enough to go down the inside at that point. And actually, if he did so, he may well still lose out into Revolver. This downhill left-hander here. Probably the best is through the next complex of turns. Big defending from Oyagi. This is for second in GT3 AM. It's for fourth in the race. And we are on the final lap. Down the inside for a little bit of hip and shoulder, but he makes it work. Leans on the Nissan. And they will move on to the final lap. It's the final lap for the 98, who's actually just here, waiting. Here comes the 98, and here comes the final corner for the 98. Winner yesterday, Takagi and Yamawaki, and they celebrate in the best way by winning race 2 of the Japan Cup here from Okayama. Yamawaki brings it across the line. Takagi celebrates on the pit wall. But maybe the story of the day, Maezawa, an overall podium in only his second Japan Cup race. He is gonna be overjoyed with that. Well done to Yusaku Maezawa, to his teammate Yokomizu as well for all the training to get him up to speed. And in third position will be the best GT3 AM car of Bingo Racing's Motoki. Great second stint to pull himself away from the rest of the GT3 guys. He wins in GT3 AM, but the title goes to the McLaren, who's just come across the line. McLaren wins the title in such incredible way. It looks like a puncher for the 83 GTC car of Haga. And we await the winner of the GT4 category. There they are, Wakayama, with a real plan for the weekend, and it has absolutely paid off because Ochai is going to be registered as winning this race by a lap, but in the end it was about 10 seconds. Ochai comes to the line and he wins the title for his team and for his teammate Tsuruhiro. It won't be a win, a championship win for Ochai because he missed those 2 races, but he's done it for everybody else. History made here in Okayama, the end of the first proper standalone season for the Japan Cup Series. And in GT4, it is Wakayama Toyota with Hojus Racing and Takeshi Suhiro, who is the champion in GT4. Champion in GT4 AM, the Aston Martin, which did finish the race We actually, not sure we saw him once on the coverage. He is out there and he is champion, but he only qualified as champion by dint of finishing the race. And we should try and celebrate also with the McLaren guys, because I think they will be so relieved to get that car to the finishing line. Those are our champions crowned yesterday, and they can celebrate once more. Happy days. Well, look in the background, the 555 Maezawa Racing on the podium for the first time. A shame it's not a victory, but in the end Maezawa himself not able to keep up with Yamawaki, who's got so much more experience than him. And there's the celebration. No sign of Yokomizu quite yet. His teammate, who would have worked so very hard, won the last 2 times they raced here. Yeah. You can see the smile in the eyes, can't you? Bingo Racing Corvette comes in to Parc Ferme as well. And the winner of GT3 AM. They won overall at the start of the season as a pro car. But let's go down to Amy now and check in with our race winners, Yamawaki and Takagi.
What a beautiful way to end the season. Already crowned champion and winner of this very last Japan Cup race. 山脇選手、昨日チャンピオン獲得、そして今日優勝でこのシーズン締めくくり、気持ちいいですね。
はい、ありがとうございました。予選ちょっと失敗しちゃって引きずってたんで、優勝っていう昨日チャンピオン取れたんですけど、今日は全部出し切ろうと思って走りました。はい。
おめでとうございます。So yesterday it was a little bit of a pity because he didn't really do well at his qualifying, but today he's very happy that he got champion yesterday and a win today. So it feels really good. 高木選手、もう本当にこのシーズン振り返って何度もポール取ったりね、勝ったりしてますけども、素晴らしいシーズンだったんじゃないですか。
そうですね、本当、フェラーリをね扱って今年初めての K チューンズレーシングだったんですけど、ジャパンカップもね新しいシリーズで参加してどういうことになるかと思ったんです。最初はねちょっと2位とか優勝できない都合性もあったんですけど、その後うまく車も調整してもらって K チューンズレーシングのねすごくメンテナンスとそのセッティングの素晴らしさに感謝したいと思います。
改めましてチャンピオン、そして今日のね優勝おめでとうございました。はい、ありがとうございます。So yeah, it's the first season for them as K-Tunes and with the Ferrari. It just feels great because at the beginning they were struggling a little bit, but that it turns out like this, he's really happy about it, and it has been a really great season.
Yeah, absolutely. A great season, the first for Japan Cup to have standalone races. It is definitely only going to grow. There's that wonderful hair, which, good news, sounds as though it's staying on, because Ochai did the work he needed to do to take the victory for his team, the Wakayama team, and take victory in the championship in Silver Am in GT4. And let's go and check in with those guys. Winner of the race and winner of the championship as well.
And here with the GT4 champions, 鈴廣選手、先ほどねレース中にもインタビューさせていただきましたけれども、無事チャンピオンとなりました。おめでとうございます。
ほっとしました。はい。もうこれで失敗してたら落合選手も坊主だったんでもう。
チャンピオンとしてお気持ちいかがですか。
いやでも本当最後の最終戦がねここ得意な岡山っていうのも本当に運が良かったのかなと、流れがいい1年だったかなと思います。はい。
おめでとうございました。落合選手、良かったです。髪の毛がそのまま残りますね。おめでとうございます。
はい、予定通りですね。はい。
どんなスティントでしたか。
後ろが離れてるっていうのを聞いてペースダウンしようと思ったら逆になんか乗りにくくなったんで、いつも通りに走ってました。はい。
はい。素晴らしいね、鈴廣選手チャンピオン、そしてチームチャンピオンも獲得ということでおめでとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
So yes, we were very relieved that we didn't need to cut off Ochai's hair, and it was just according to plan. Ochai just said he also could have slowed down a little bit, but he didn't actually need to, and the car just felt great, and they're just really happy about this season.
celebrations down there at Maezawa Racing. And that is what it means. A man that's accomplished so much, and then a broad smile on his face. Confirmation of the results. We do still have some under investigations. Takagi ahead of Maezawa in the end. The Keiichins ahead of Maezawa by 25 seconds. Mutogi and Takai taking third position overall in Bingo Racing's GT3 AM winning car, with Comet Racing up to second in the end. It wasn't enough though for the GT AM title. And the 666 car ending up in 6th position, but it does still have a penalty, so may drop further down. Confirmation of the 1 lap advantage, but it wasn't in the end, to Okayama Toyota ahead of Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia, and the BMW ending up in 3rd position in GT4. The GT4 AM winner, T-Station, they finished the race and therefore got the title as well. I imagine we're also going to see the GTC guys up on the podium. We saw both of them, what we think is crashing into each other. We didn't see the actual impact, but both of them finished the race. The highlights of the Japan Cup Race 2 under sunny skies after rain this morning, and a very fraught battle. Pro drivers in the cars. The 666 around the outside of Fujinami looking very, very attacking on the first lap. Further back, it was a very fraught battle in GT3 AM, and a mistake here from the Ferrari number 7, running wide, trying to cut back, cut across the nose of the Comet Racing, the Bingo Racing Corvette, and spun himself around. No penalty for that. And unfortunately, it kind of meant the number 7 could never really get back to the lead of the race. Although the 55 McLaren had serious issues and was struggling. Pit stops and big mistakes from the 666 car. Cut the pit stop window on the entry to the pits. Had a short pit stop, stopped at the end of pit lane, and pitted outside the window. So 666 collecting what seemed to be 5 penalties by the end. Yamawaki faster than Maezawa in the second stint, closed down the gap to the Ferrari, and just on the left of shot there was Maezawa going wide and allowing the Keiichins Ferrari into the lead of the race. The champions yesterday ending up at the head of the field as the 666 took multiple drive-through penalties. 2 GTC cars got into each other later on in the race, both having to go multiple laps down, but finishing. And unfortunately, the BMW losing out in the GT4 title hunt. The 38 Toyota Supra taking the victory in GT4. The win of the race and the title overall to the 98 Ferrari. There is Parc Ferme, full of cars. And I'm sure we're getting ready soon for the podium ceremony. We do still have a car making its way back to the pits, albeit being towed. So let's go back down to Amy, and she's going to chat with Maezawa himself.
Here with Maezawa Yusaku. It's his second GT3 race and already on the podium. Let's congratulate him. Maezawa 選手おめでとうございます。ポディウムです。
ミラクル。あ、すみません。
いやでも素晴らしい走りでした。GT3 のレースどうですか？
ドキドキしました。けど楽しかった。いい汗かいた。
もうたっぷりお祝いしちゃってください。
ありがとうございます。
So he's very happy. As you see, he says it's a miracle. He had a lot of great sweat and is just really, really happy. Back to you.
It's been a hard weekend for these drivers. He must be a very fit man, though, I imagine. And look at the support down there in the paddock. Great to be able to chat to him. The other one I really wanted to hear from was Uematsu. He's going to stand on the podium Oh no, he's not going to stand on the podium. That's a shame. So we're not going to be able to celebrate his championship victory in GT3 AM because it was such a story. In third position overall, Motoku and Shinji Takai in the Bingo Racing Corvette. They've been on the overall podium a couple of times already this season, taking victories in Sugo in the first 2 rounds, but that was actually as a pro car. Maezawa, first weekend for them, the 555, and then Yamawaki with the 5th win of the year for the 98 car. Shinichi Takagi and Daisuke Yamawaki, champions and victors. But watch out, because there's no doubt in my mind that Maezawa Racing will be coming in force next year. There is exactly the taste that Mr. Maezawa needed to throw everything at a title assault in 25. And it's proven also he can do it. A little briefing from Naoki Yokomizu as to how to spray the champagne by the looks of things. Photos being taken. This is the final round, of course, of the Japan Cup. It has been a success, no doubt. 17 cars entered for this weekend, equal best. And with racing and entertainment as good as it's been, oh no! Oh no! Naoki went for the big smash on the ground and lost control of his bottle. Can't believe it. I think he spilt all his champagne, so he didn't even get a chance to spray it. The championship then, a 71-point advantage at the end to the K-Tunes Ferrari, ahead of Shinji Takai, finishing second in the end, 1 point ahead of Tadao Uematsu. Didn't really think about that, did we? That Uematsu's lost a position there overall in the championship, although, of course, he has won the AM championship. He's dropped to third in the overall championship. Comet Racing's Yamakaze in 4th position. GT4 Drivers Champions are Wakayama Toyota with Hujus Racing and Takashi Suhiro. Ahead of the BMW in the end, that took 3 points more than Monopo. So Monopo dropping to third in the championship with that result. But well done to Wakayama Toyota. Very competitive year in GT4. Thank you very much for watching the Japan Cup for 2024. We're coming back next year, bigger and better than ever. The championship calendar is out. If you want to come racing with us, make sure you contact SRO. If you want to just watch loads of entertaining action, you know where we'll be. Thank you for watching, and goodbye from Okayama for now. So the GT3 AM podium. Bingo Racing taking the victory there. Comet Racing in second position. And actually, great story to have Team Taishin with GTNet on the podium for a second time. Nobuyuki and Ridochiro, both part-timers in this championship this year, came to Fuji. Didn't think they would be able to come here and have made it worthwhile getting 2 podiums in GT3 AM. Corvette, Ferrari, Nissan and McLaren part of that field. I still can't believe that Uematsu got himself to the end of the race, and also with a car that seemed to fix itself. Champagne flies on the podium. Comet Racing, I think, will be slightly disappointed with the inability to win that AM championship. But actually, as Amy explained at the start of the race, they didn't even know they could. So it was a pretty much an outside chance. And even yesterday, we thought it was done. The champagne bath. Ever considered what happens after the podium's finish? You end up with a very sticky body, especially in these humid conditions here. So GT3 AM has gone the way of Tadao Uematsu. He did finish the race. He got the car, okay, 2 laps down, but finished 36 laps. Fastest lap of the race was on lap 27, where he did a lap time that was within 4 seconds of the fastest lap of the race. There is the back end of the podium. The other thing I noticed about the podium is that they have a hose pipe on the back of the podium. I've never seen a podium in motorsport. This is my 80th racetrack I've been to, and I've never seen a hose pipe at the back of the podium for cleaning the podium. Seems such an obvious thing to install. And of course, I suppose as the circuit was built in the 1990s, they knew about champagne spraying by then. So, GT4 podium. Kano and Fuji for YZ Racing. Second in the championship, third on the podium today. She brought a super soaker onto the podium. Amazing. Why do you need one of those when you've got a champagne bottle? Toshiyuki Achai and Takeshi Surihiro jumps on the top step of the podium, joined by Haridama, Manopo and Seita Nonaka in Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia. They were so influential in getting these GT4 field built and bigger. They got their, not in Japan Cup, they'll need to upgrade into GT3 if they want to race in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia in Indonesia, with a round at Mandalika next year. Not the Japan Cup, but the full FAT championship. But Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia. Haridama Manopo from Indonesia. Missing out on the championship this year. They did win it last year. That was when it was part of GT World Challenge. And it didn't really have a lot of competition. There's certainly been competition this year in GT4. And those basically those success penalties, so much more influential in GT4 than in GT3 because of the pace of the cars and because of the closeness of the racing. GT4 cars really accessible to drive. And there goes the champagne. The super soaker has been put down, the water pistol, and the bottles now replace the champagne spraying. looking forward to seeing how the GT4 field develops across all territories. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is just the beginning, I feel, for Japan Cup. There is the confirmation of championship standings once more. Tsuruhiro and Wakayama ahead of the BMW team. And then Toyokazu Racing Indonesia's Manopo in 3rd spot. Missing around though, Ochai up to 4th, ahead of the Porsche on this weekend's action. So, the winners of GT4 AM, and more than that, the champions of GT4 AM. D-Station, with us all year, but they ran a GT3 car in the early part of the season, and then moved to GT4 for the second 2 weekends. So not unfamiliar, and certainly classed correctly. No dramas this week, today though. They were in the gravel yesterday, but they managed to complete the race. 14th and the final finisher. Sorry, that they were 13th. Tatsuya Hoshino and Kenji Hama. Now, I wonder what we'll see for GTC, because one car finished 4 laps down, so it's classified, so it should, in theory, be on the podium. There's been no notification regarding GTC, any incident that occurred, but at the same time, both cars seem to have issues around the back of the circuit. Number 16 didn't actually take the checkered flag, but was classified. Confirmation of the GT4 AM Drivers' Championship. D-Station taking victory in the 4 races that they took part in, therefore 100 points, and therefore the victory in the championship as well. And here we go. Both GTC drivers have made it back. Both teams have made it back. And there's some decent amount of respect between the 4 drivers. So whatever happened out on track hasn't dampened their smiles. And it was the SRO Motorsport Porsche ahead of the Gamma 83. Makoto Haga and Mineki Okura in the 83, second position for them. Satoshi Kono and Kitasawa, the man with the black race suit and yellow shoes there for ABSA. Raced a Ferrari Challenge car as well in that GTC category. But they were, I thought the black one was the one that was, oh, I've got them around the wrong way. I'm really confused, because the black one was the one that retired. So it is ABSA second and Gamma winning. So it's Okura with the yellow shoes. Oh yes, okay, got you now. Well done to our GTC drivers. Good place. There's so many of those 991 cars out in the world and less places to race them. So thank you very much for joining us for the Japan Cup for 2024. Make sure you join us once again in 25, where the grids will be getting bigger, and if you're one that can partake, please do. Bye-bye for now.